You're watching Domed In Cuse, the quick hit podcast for real Orange fans. If you love Cuse sports, hit like and subscribe. All right, we're back. We're going to do a quick 5 minutes here on football. I think, and I'm just going to open this up to you because I was tapped out. I did not see it, and I watched some of it last night, but I fell asleep before I finished it. But the Fran interview recently that he did felt like Fran has turned the page on last year. I think towards the end of last year, we talked about it. He was like, we just got to get done with this year. It's been a shitty year. We need to just get to next year. And it feels like he's ready to get to next year right now. And that interview felt like it, no?
100%. Like last, like you said, he looked like a sad dog at the end of last year. Like, let me get out, like get me out of here, sort of thing. You know,
he was dead dog running, dead dog,
right,
and you knew
exactly.
it.
And no one blamed him for that based on the fucking last month. And like everybody every Syracuse fan wanted the same thing. That was my same takeaway watching that interview. Was like Fran's got his swag back again. Like his mojo was rocking in that interview. He was just kind of, he was doing the gift of the gab on the mic. That confidence was back. I think he feels good about the football team that he's assembling right now and the coaching staff that he's assembling. I've got my excitement back again about Cuse football. I feel like Fran feels really good about the state of the organization. That was my big takeaway. And yeah, man, I'm excited about hitting the offseason here and getting to 26.
One of the keys to that, Steve Angeli.
100%.
Obviously coming off of a tough Achilles injury, and we've been talking about it. That's an injury it takes a while to heal from. Like look at some of the guys who have recently come back from it. It's taken them a long time to come back from. But it seems like from Fran's interview, like we feel positive about Steve, right? Like it feels like Steve's gonna be the guy, which is in turn maybe allowing him, when you made this comparison to me, is to be a little bit more Kyle McCordish, or that role of Kyle McCord took on of being the leader of the program.
100%. That's what it feels like. And, I'm hopeful that maybe Steve tore that Achilles early enough in the season that it's going to give him almost a full 12 months to get back, which is a benefit to us. Obviously it was horrible to him, but next year it is a benefit to us. But 100%, dude, it feels like the way Fran's talking about him, that Steve has really embraced being the full leader of the program, right, from the player side of the field. And we were kind of just chit-chatting before this that it was going to be tough for him last year. He was in a quarterback battle. He came in May. He just never – we didn't assert kind of that lead dog in the quarterback room until late. And then, obviously the season –
even going to be hard for him to do that even once he was the lead dog.
Exactly. Then you get hurt. It just changes the whole season anyway. Him being in the program, we have this full offseason with him. It really sounds like Steve has the whole group following him right now and following his lead. He's setting the tone in his rehab process. It's getting me really excited for the quarterback room, what we're building. And the way Fran was speaking about how he will never not have another quarterback option again, I think he's learned from last year. I really do.
And I think that's all we ask, right? Like what we did ask, and we talked about this on the basketball one if you watched it, that Fran adjusted, right? Like Fran looked at what he wasn't doing right and he fixed all those things. We love to see that, right? So we love to see that Fran has kind of looked back, he's identified issues and he's fixed them, something that Red could learn to do if he ever wants to be a head coach again. But the one thing I'll say is we have an opportunity this year that we didn't have last year because we started up against a really, really tough team right away in Tennessee. We don't have that kind of hard schedule to start. So that is even better for Steve of like, hey, he's going to be able to get in some action, some live reps, get himself back into game shape a little bit, allow him to see the field a little bit before he ever has to really go up against a big time competition. There isn't a Tennessee to start the year next year.
There's not. No. And
I think we play like Ohio, UConn at a conference, like Cornell or whatever, or Colgate or whatever. Like we play, like it's very easy. It's I think we play Toledo. No,
no, I think that got nixed.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll see what the schedule looks like, but at least the preliminary schedule that we had was much easier walking in the non-conference than what we had last year.
100%. That at UConn game, I think, is our toughest non-con game right now, and that'll be an interesting game. Like,
It'll be a fun one.
Yeah, with Candle over there, like they're going to be talented for that level. So, yeah, dude, I agree, and I don't know. I feel like the way he spoke pretty candidly about the coordinators and the coaching changes too. I don't know if you've gotten to that part yet, but
no, I did not get to that part.
I wouldn't say threw shade at Nuns and Erob kind of, I would say specifically, but he noted just like, I think material issues that everybody in the fan base saw last year, right? Like the quarterback coach ultimately needs to, be accountable for having more than one guy ready to play, right?
And the defensive coach needs to make sure the defense can line up properly.
Correct. And that's exactly kind of what Fran was getting at too on that side. It's like, we just need to be more organized, and it's what we all saw, right? And it gave me confidence that he just took an honest assessment of what happened to his football team last year, right? And he made those quick changes, and I think he's developing as a coach. And it's what I was, saying on the basketball side. Like, Fran's a guy that you got to be patient with because you hired him young and you hired him inexperienced, and so you got to give him time to learn. And if he's showing he can't correct his mistakes, then you have a problem.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. And you've said this over and over again. If you see something and can't correct it, that's a red flag. But if you start making those adjustments and we see the improvement, this is exactly what you signed up for. And right now I'm encouraged because I feel like some folks are maybe disappointed we didn't bring in huge names in the portal. I think we did exactly what we wanted to do. And I actually am really pleased with what we did on the defensive line, what we did in the receiver room.
Before we get to the portal, I want to get to the portal. Sorry to cut you off, but before we get to the portal, I want to hop in there because I think that's really great. And it's that old saying, trust but verify. But let's tweak that a little bit. Patience but progress. 100%. We want to be patient with Fran, but we want to see the progress. And that's what you're talking about, right? Like, hey, there were issues. We've been talking now about the defense. We talked about it year one. We kind of said, hey, Erob didn't necessarily have the guys that fit his scheme. He had guys that were left over that were good, but they were like for a different scheme. So we'll give him another year. It didn't get better. It was clear it didn't get better. The stuff we talked about, not lining up properly, not looking like we're getting the play call in on time. We had to bring in a special coach to blitz because we never fucking blitzed. All those things were still issues from the year before. And it would have been really, really frustrating if we didn't change that this year. 100%. He went out. Not only did he change it, he went and got the exact kind of guy that we wanted him to go get. A guy who's had previous head coaching experience, despite the fact that it's at the D3 level, that was a very, very good head coach at the D3 level, and then has had an elite defense, and even though it's the MAC at Toledo, an elite defense in the MAC for the last 5 years. So it's not somebody who came in green like Erob, who wasn't a D coordinator before, who he's taking a shot on. No, this is an established guy that fills a lot of the holes that we were worried about with Fran. And then you flip it over to the other side with Nuns. Again, Nuns. I think we both liked Nuns. Nuns was kind of a special teams guy, and then he was the offensive coordinator, and he was like the bowl game coach, and then we kind of like let him be the quarterback coach, and then last year was a disaster. It was a disaster in the quarterback. And like you're saying, you have to have more than one guy ready. So what do? You get rid of him. You bring in some new blood. You move guys around on the staff. You get rid of a bunch of guys all around. You bring in new guys all around. Those guys seem like they all have pedigree from different places, which is really cool. You bring in like the Georgia State defensive line guy. There's a guy who you lost a good recruiter in Erob. You replaced him with a good recruiter, but you put the recruiter as the defensive line coach, not the defensive coordinator.
Exactly. And the guy we brought in from the Giants, I think Sean Ryan is his name, the quarterback coach who's coached like Stafford and Eli Manning and like this long list of quarterbacks. Like, that's an NFL guy. That's what you want.
Experience. The offensive line guy we got has been an NFL guy. He's been in college. He's been everywhere.
It's a green flag when you've got quarterbacks who are committing to be backups here because they believe in what you're going to do in the quarterback room, right? And I totally agree, man. Like, I think on a couple of those notes, like, I think Fran in his interview talks about this conversation he had with Nick Saban. And he took, I said, a ton away from this conversation he had with Saban. The big highlight was like that Saban told him to just what you do best, don't let anybody else do it. You do it. And Fran took that to heart, and his immediate response, he goes, I'm doing the recruiting. I'm going to do the recruiting, and I'm going to
Love
bring in
that.
guys who complement me and handle the on-field and the development stuff, and I can focus on the recruiting and win at that. And that's exactly what we want to hear as a fan base, dude. It's the
Love that.
perfect fucking response from him, honestly. And like, it gives me so much encouragement to hear that, because it's exactly what he did. He brought in such experienced coaches, like you said, who are going to make the team better on the football field, right? And Fran is going to go out and get the guys he wants. And I think we did that, right? And I don't know, man. I am really encouraged.
So then let's hop back into the portal now, right? Because I didn't hear that before, so that's news to me, and that I am with you is super exciting to hear.
Yeah.
And that is the kind of guy Fran is. Fran's reaching out to Nick Saban, he's reaching out to Kirby, he's using all these connections to get better, and he is going to get better. I've always said that Fran is going to become a better and better head coach, and that's why we love him. That's why we're going to be behind him 100%. But now let's look at the portal. So I think a lot of people always were going to have unrealistic expectations when it came to the portal. I think because of what Fran Brown has done and who he is, people kind of think we're just going to go out and get like the top portal guy. It's not going to happen. We got Kyle McCord because of a special relationship that Fran had that is going to be almost impossible for us to ever replicate again. And that scenario might never happen again for us. We are not Indiana. We've made this point before. Don't compare us to Indiana. We don't have the money. We're not a sleeping dormant Big Ten 50,000 people university who is going to turn on and the donor money is going to come flooding in like that. It's not, right? So what are the stuff we talked about if you go back to our opening episode about the portal, kind of, what were the things that we talked about? The main thing that we talked about was buying low on guys who fit a specific scheme that we think will immediately be productive. And I think we've done that.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest acquisition, and we can go into what you think of in the portal because you brought this up, so I want to hear more about what you think. To me, the biggest acquisition, and we said this before the portal opened, and our buddy Trey's dad in the group chat was like, "Oh, we didn't get the leading tackler from Toledo," but he didn't really know what he was talking about when he said that, because that was never the guy we should go after. That guy plays the same position as Antoine. He was never going to play here. So the guy that we wanted was Chris D'Apollonia, who plays more of that green dot, but the everywhere linebacker, right? So that he's the guy who covers a lot of ground. He does a lot more coverage. Next year, instead of having Derek McDonald covering the running back in the flat, which cost us games this year, we're going to have him, and he's got way better foot speed. And we'll see if it translates, but he's the exact right kind of guy to go get. And it was clear that Vince Karras had identified him as a guy that we wanted to go get, and we went and got him. And it's the perfect example of, like, forget all the noise about the guys we didn't get from Toledo and focus on the guy that we did get, which was the one guy that we needed to go get.
I agree. And I think that was the guy we wanted. We needed the linebacker, because that's what we do not have. And I think if you look around, we got the other pieces we really needed from other places. We needed the defensive line. That was the focus of the offseason, in my opinion, for us. We went out and got a bunch of highly productive players, right? And I think there was competition for a lot of the guys that we got there. I think that's where our portal money went. Do you not agree? I think that's where, like,
totally
getting the UNLV lineman who's the fifth school of 5 years,
getting the kid from Georgia State that came with the coach.
Exactly. I think he was pretty sought after, and I don't know if it was him specifically. It could have been the kid from Maryland, but Fran hints at one of the defensive tackles maybe getting an offer late that he had to talk off the ledge there. Getting both those kids, getting the kid from UT Martin who had 15 sacks last year.
Love that kid. I really like that.
Mine, he has double-digit sack potential next year.
That's the buy low. That is the buy low. We're not going to get the top guy, so go find the productive guy that not everybody's looking at necessarily.
Totally. And see if we can get one of our young kids to pop with these guys.
We still bring back Amon Poriola, who's a physical monster. I think he's going to be really good next year. Like
There's I think Fuentes Cundiff may have one more year if I'm not mistaken. Like
Rashard Perry, who I think we both
Sharp
love.
Perry too, as well.
Yeah.
Like there's now, like I know we said that's a position need. Well, they brought in 4 or 5 guys. It's suddenly like now there's a rotation. Like you've talked about repeatedly, you need to have.
Yeah.
And
And you
I
brought
don't
in
know.
different style of guys. You brought in a guy who's been at 5 schools. You brought in a freshman from Georgia State. You brought in a kid who's been productive at a lower level, and hopefully he can help take the next step. You're bringing back a couple of guys who, Rashad Perry, right before his injury, was starting to play really, really well for us. You're also bringing back Poriola, who has been up and down at times, but when he's good, he's been really good. And I think he has 2 years left of eligibility. So, you've now done the other things that we've asked. We said buy low, and we said bring in a mix of guys, right? Bring in different kinds of guys. So now let's go to offense. Specifically, the 2 places that I now want to talk about are quarterback and running back. We've talked a lot about running back, so let's start with the quarterback. We asked that Fran rebuild the quarterback room. I would say coming into next year, our top 4 quarterbacks are Steve and 3 new guys. Am I wrong?
No, 100%. That's what it is.
So you go ahead and you get the kid from Kennesaw State who we've talked about. Since then, we haven't recorded since then. We went and got Malachi Nelson. So again, here's an example of us asking, Fran, can you try to get a versatile, a different looking kind of guys? You get one guy who played 1 year, looked really, really good, but at a lower level. Let's hope he works out in the future. You also went and got another guy, Malachi Nelson, who's played at many different places, hasn't always been great, but has tons of experience and can be a backup quarterback who could step in and run an offense immediately. He's run a college offense in the past. So here's now an example of us getting different types of guys to match behind Angeli, and then you bring in a freshman, Zed Lott, and all of a sudden now you have a quarterback room that kind of has a lot of different things to it.
Agreed, dude. And I think like that's the thing is that I honestly think now from the year before, I think we were 1 deep in the quarterback room. I think we might be 5 deep this year, honestly.
Bellin and Filardi, so we might go 6 deep.
Yeah, I mean that would give you 7, honestly, because I think the kid from Georgetown is actually playable that they brought in.
So then you got 7 deep.
He was the starter there, and he got hurt like in the second game. Like
I forgot about him.
First couple games. Like Fran mentioned him by name too. Like, so you've got Lott, you've got him, you've got Odom, and you've got Nelson. I mean, that's literally now you've got 4 guys behind Steve who's setting the tone at a professional level with an NFL quarterback coach. I couldn't feel better about how we remade the room now. Like I know there's maybe some disappointment not getting the exact guy we wanted, but I feel good about the entire depth of the room. We are not reliant on 1 or even really 2 guys, in my opinion, at this point.
Agreed. Let's go to running back. So we lose our running backs. Willis goes to Kansas. That was a weird one.
Yes, that seems like a pretty telling result, doesn't it?
Yeah, Dylan Edwards ended up there too. That's weird. Okay, so I guess maybe splashing some money around though. Who knows?
Yeah.
You go ahead and you do the same thing that we talked about, right? You get something different. You get 2 different types of guys. You get the kid from the Bayou at LSU, who I love. I played a lot with him in NCAA, so even though like cardiac cues is telling me he's not good, I don't care. I played with him in NCAA. I ride and die with my NCAA guys, and he's good in that game. So I like that kid from the Bayou that we went and got from LSU, Juwan Johnson. And then you also go and you get a kid from where was he from? The other kid. Jackson State, right? And so then you go and get that kid, and both kids, they're a little bit different. The kid Juwan Johnson, he's big-ish, but he's more of an athlete. And that other kid from Jackson State, he's more of a thumper. So now you've got, 2 different types of guys to mix in. And the guys that you already had here, both those guys are bigger, right? Both those guys are 6+, 200+, right? And the other guys that you had left over, Malachi Coleman, right? Tylee Kill, right? Malachi Coleman, Tylee Kill. Those are 2 guys who are small speedsters. So now you've remade the running back room, but again, you've kept big guys, small guys, fast guys, power guys. Like you've done a good job of building a versatile skill set.
100%. And we hit it on a couple weeks ago when we did our initial pod on this, but guys that fit what Nixon wants to do. He wants versatile backs that can run and catch and pick up in pass protection and be able to do really everything as a running back, and we didn't necessarily have that last year. I
No,
didn't think, and
no.
to have multiple guys who we can basically play interchangeably, that's how Syracuse wants to play. It truly is, and I think we did a good job. We didn't need to spend a ton of money at that position group. I don't think it's not a group
Nope.
you need to. You really
Nope.
don't.
But you
And
need
it's a group
depth. You need depth.
at Syracuse, it is a position that we have actually always developed well. Is
Yeah.
it not?
Yep.
Like, do we ever
Hmm.
not have a good running back at Syracuse?
Always.
We always do.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think you need depth now. I think you just need depth, and you got a bunch of guys. One of these guys might take the reign and become the guy. I still think Tyreek Hill, the guy who's been here, I think he's got a ton of upside, that kid. So, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Then you go to the wide receiver room, right? And, like, you went and you got, even though it was last minute and there's been a lot of chatter about, rumors about what happened with Darryl Gill, I personally don't believe any of those rumors. They seem so far-fetched for me. So I don't believe that shit personally, and I'm just gonna ride with Fran. And until Fran tells me that that's what happened, I don't believe in that rumor. You can go find them yourself if you want. But we did a really good job losing him and Cook, and I didn't really care about losing Cook. You know how I felt about Cook. I was never a huge fan, to be honest. I think Tyshawn Russell might be a better player anyway. So I don't
Fran
care.
threw a little shade at him in that interview. He's
Yeah.
like, we went out and got receivers who catch with their hands,
Yeah, yeah. And also guys who aren't just going to fumble the ball in the biggest moments when you're bringing in a new quarterback, right? And, like, I'm also a big believer. I'm a big believer in Tyshawn Russell. I'm a big believer in Darius Johnson. I think that kid has the potential to really be a stud. I don't think he showed at all what he could do because he didn't ever play with a quarterback when he was there. But, that kid takes those two guys take that exact role right away from Cook anyway. So I don't care. Losing Gill was a big one. But we needed big physical receivers, and what did we go do? We would go recruit big physical receivers, right? Because you want your number one in Calvin Russell to be surrounded by guys who are going to also beat up the defense a little bit. That's at least how I look at it from the receiver position. I think, like, if I look at the NFL, I think this is a great example of it. I think one of the best wide receiver rooms in the NFL is the Bengals, where you have Jamar Chase on one side, and then on the other side you have what's his name from Clemson.
Higgins. Yeah, they pay
Higgins.
those guys a lot of money.
Right, but what you have is you have a guy in Higgins who's like just a big physical guy who the defense is it's a tough guy to cover. And then you've got Jamar Chase who could just do it all. And I think that's exactly what you kind of want. And so now you're going to surround Calvin Russell with like a little speedster in the middle, a big physical guy on the outside, because we got that kid from Florida State who I think is going to be good. And then you also got him on the outside. Like, I think you've done another good job of building a versatile skill set around the players you already had.
Yeah, I love what we brought in receiver. Like, the kid from Miami, Ohio,
Yeah.
big productive receiver. Fran mentioned him too, like, kind of compared him to JRS a little bit. Like, I think that's how they kind of want to use him, as a big body sort of possession guy. And then he was excited about Outen. I don't know exactly how to say his name. The kid we took from Penn State, but we wanted him.
I forgot about that kid. Shit.
We wanted him the first time around. He was a 4-star from Virginia. I think that's a big pickup. He's a big athletic kid. Like, Fran has identified talent well at wide receiver. Like,
Yes, yeah.
I trust his scouting on that. I think our wide receiver room is as strong as it was last year, if not better. And you got Calvin on the outside.
It was strong last year.
Like, I think it's good. I think this room is good. I really do.
So then we move on to two places where we didn't really address much in the portal: tight end and offensive line. And this is interesting. I know Mike McAllister, shout out Big Mike, he had mentioned how many scholarships we have on the offensive line. So it looks like we're going to try to do this completely from within. Same kind of thing for tight ends. I think we got a couple guys there that we're looking at, and we're like, we're going to do this fully from within.
I agree. We'll see how this materializes, but I think that's kind of, there's a reason for that, right? Trying to buy an offensive line in the portal is not a good idea. Like, you're going to spend an insane amount of money trying to do that, and if you don't, right, there's a reason why the guys aren't getting paid, right? Like, that's sort of like, you're going to bring in guys who just aren't that good, and so you're better off trying to develop these guys. And look, dude, I think last year the offensive line looked significantly better and was improving up until Angeli got hurt. and then it
And
just
Jelly got hit a lot. And Jelly
he
got hit
did.
a
But
lot.
that Clemson game, we were starting to get a little bit better. Like we were
That was
starting.
more because Angeli was getting the ball out quick, not because they were blocking
That
that
is
great,
true.
to be
But we had a
fair.
Ferguson problem at left guard.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
we had a lot of stuff going on there. If we can find a center, I do think there are elements of Nixon's offense that can allow us to cover up for an offensive line if we can fix the running game a little bit, just because it's so quick at times.
and I think Angeli's going to be good at that because, like you mentioned, as Angeli got better at seeing the defense and getting the ball out quick, I think he was doing a really good job of recognizing defenses at the end and getting the ball out quick and kind of getting that experience up and going. I think really, really looked like a guy. He looked different by game 4 than he did in game 1. I was frustrated in game 1 of him not getting the ball out. You know, I always remember in game 2 versus UConn on the 4th and 2 when the back is Nixon is going out on a route and they have 6 guys coming. That's not on the offensive line. They have 6 guys coming. And Jelly can't hold that ball.
Right.
He held the ball, led to a sack fumble. He then did the exact opposite against Clemson. There was times where they had more guys rushing and that back was not staying in and he just got the ball out quick.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, so this guy has, like we talked about with Fran, diagnosed and improved.
Exactly. So, yeah, man, I can live with what we're doing on the offensive line. I think we got to figure out center, like we've called out. But I do think with what we've brought back and some continuity with Steve, I think it's something that we can solve there with the offensive line. You know,
And Fran's brought in a lot of talent on the offensive line.
It
A lot of it
did.
was raw, and so let's see if we can mold it.
Totally. And
we
think,
brought in a new coach.
Yeah, totally.
So I think that's pretty much a roundup. I think the kid we missed was the. Oh, you got something? Go ahead.
I was going to have one last point on the defense, or just where we spent our money quickly, unless you wanted to transition. One final point. If you look at Toledo the last 3 years, they 2023 38 sacks as a defense, 2024 33 sacks as a defense, 2025 38 sacks as a defense. Last year, Syracuse had 20 sacks as a defense. Where did we spend our money in the portal?
Defensive line.
That's what Vince Karras asked for. I almost guarantee it.
But Vince Karras has also done that, and I don't want this to be mistaken as like he didn't have good defensive lines. Vince Karras has done that with elite secondary play because he's gotten a lot of coverage sacks because people are afraid to throw the ball against the secondaries that he's had out there. And that's something that we actually have really is a strength of ours. No, like our corners are locked out.
100%. I think what he believes in, right, is having great secondary play and guys that can get after the quarterback, right? And you can combine those two things. It makes it pretty hard, right? And you have your guy in the middle who you trust to get everybody in the right spot and in the right coverage. That sounds like the makings of a pretty good defense to me.
And what he relies on, sorry to cut you off there, but what he relies on, because you're talking about those guys in the middle, he relies heavily on those linebackers to make tackles in the run game. Right? Yep. Which I think actually really is going to bode well for Antoine specifically because Antoine, I think, is going to be looking at a lot less complex types of things. I think you're going to see Antoine blitz more, and I think you're going to see him just playing gaps in the run game more. And that's where I think his game is suited to.
Antoine smash, right? Like that's what we want, you know? And I think that's exactly what he's going to be assigned to do. And I think even a guy like Gary Bryant, if he ends up, obviously, I think on the roster by the end of the day, like helps him too. Same thing. Gary smash, right?
Yeah.
Like,
because Gary played out of position a little bit last year, no?
Totally. I don't like, we've kind of had him, like you were saying, as the green dot sort of guy for periods of the year because there just wasn't somebody else to do that with. Frankly, him and Antoine are kind of like the same sort of guy. Like
they weren't terrible together. They weren't terrible.
No, they weren't. But like you're saying, it's not really what his role should be. Like, dude, play downhill and hit people. You know,
yeah, totally.
And I think just the intentionality and what we went after in the portal makes me very happy because it's very clear. We're like we knew where we know how we want to play. This is where we got to figure out where we have gaps. Let's go bring in a bunch of solid bodies at defensive line so we can get after the quarterback and let Karras cook this defense a little bit.
Well, I'm glad that you had us do this little football podcast after that gloomy fucking basketball podcast. I'll be honest, this podcast is now 30 minutes. Our basketball one was like 40-ish minutes in terms of recording time. And this one felt like we just talked for 5 minutes. And the basketball one felt like we talked for 7 hours because it was like so slow going through and so miserable. And this feels just energized and fun. And it just kind of shows you like the state of the two programs and where we're at, where it's like Fran's coming off of just the worst year you could have imagined. We're 2 months away from being depressed about it, but we're already re-energized. And that kind of shows you what he's like as a coach and a program builder versus Red, where it's like, dude, like, it's miserable, dude. It is so miserable.
Yeah. I'm going to dump myself into the positivity right now. You know, like I'm really happy.
Thank you for bringing me along.
Exactly. We had to go back to the other side of the fence there because it was getting dark. It was getting dark figuratively and literally. We got a snowstorm, looming in here, like
over all of the United States. All right, everybody, like and subscribe. Let's go Orange. Let's get excited. Football's going to be so back. Can't wait for football next year. God, it's January. I should be excited about basketball.